the show last night.
My God. Now, hear this. Now, hear this.
It's about to go down.
Fifth Avenue Podcast, episode 7, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes,
We're
sir.
moving.
Yes,
man.
sir. Got it right for the first time because you've been behind, man.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And listen, I think the dope part about this is we're getting better and better, bro.
Oh, yes.
On the tech side of things, we're figuring it out.
The edit side of things.
Edit side of things, we're figuring it out.
That's it.
It's about to be interesting. It's about to be exciting, guys. So it's been a crazy week. It's been a crazy few days.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of things have happened in the country.
Oh, yeah.
In politics, whether we're talking about in entertainment, whether we're talking about just in the dating game.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
A lot's been going on.
Not for me, might I say. Not for me, might I say.
Just to make
Not
it clear,
for me,
okay?
might I say.
Yeah, definitely. We support the institution, you know?
Yes.
So that's been amazing, man. It's been amazing in terms of just the work we've put in, and I'm sure you guys are going to see that in the next couple of days, or rather now we'll be behind. So there's a few episodes that we've put together quickly that we're going to put out on YouTube.
Yeah.
So we've been pushing from a Spotify, iTunes standpoint where, on a weekly basis, we've been putting content out. So I just wanted to make it clear that we're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
So definitely going forward, we're definitely going to try to make sure that the YouTube side of things and the Spotify, iTunes, all of that is going to be aligned.
Pretty much.
So yeah, man, I don't even know where to start, bro. Like, there's a lot of things I want us to unpack today in terms of, let's start with the relationship side of things, because I noticed, just from feedback,
Yeah.
from our audience that they like that section.
They want to hear that.
They want to hear that. They want to know what we think about this
That's it.
dating thing. I was with a lady the other day, and she's like, "Yo, I like this part of the show. Like,
Okay.
when you guys start talking about movies or, politics or
Whatever.
I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, that's great. I mean, we got a broad fan base. So you got people that are interested in sports, entertainment. You got
Facts.
people that are interested in the dating game. People that are interested in politics.
Yeah.
Just want to know what we think as men. So we try to cater to everyone. So just a little tip to our fans is, we obviously, just to give you kind of the format, we start with the dating thing, which we can obviously be flexible and change here and
True.
there. But we definitely delve into other things as well that are more serious, like what is going on currently in the country, around the world.
Yeah.
So if you have time, stick around for the full show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're definitely going to learn something. And the whole idea of this platform is not just to entertain, but inform as well. So I think it's important that you as an audience, learn something that you can apply in your daily lives as you go through the journey of life. So to start off, I remember in a group the other day, one of the guys posted something about, Drake, renting out the Dodgers stadium for a date, right? Now, for me, I remember the words I used were very strong in that group. Like, screw this guy. I didn't say those exact words. But it was like, I get it, okay?
Yep.
It's the concept of effort, being thoughtful around, and being intentional when you go on a date. You want to show that you're putting effort, Now, we're not saying be broke in the process. Don't take a loan so you can rent Orlando Stadium for a date. But my thing was, okay, where do we draw the line? Where do we say, this is you showing effort and this is you bragging, right? This is you flaunting your resources, right? Where do we draw the line? Because You know, we find here and there where it's easy to, okay, take her to the finest restaurant. It's easy to take her to, you know, for Drake, the stadium, right? Because it's huge. But where do we say, okay, this is you being creative, thoughtful, intentional, and this is you flossing or flaunting?
I think, as with everything else, context. I love Dread Avenue because it's kind of, it always is unpacking things. You know what I mean?
That's
There's
what
things,
we do.
We can take it for granted and say, hey, but he's Drake and he can afford to.
Yeah.
But let's think about this. Bill Gates then could afford to rent an island or to rent a whole country, I think. I mean, a whole country. He owns Africa, so you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
we got to ask ourselves, at what point is it just diminishing returns?
Right.
Let's think of it like that, man. Because if it's a question of Drake can afford it, there are
Right.
many much richer people than Drake, and I've never heard them maybe do something like that. It sounds very Hollywood to me. And I
Right.
guess Drake is, you know, ex-Hollywood, so of course he's going to live gargantuan. He's big. And I love Drake. Don't you know
Right.
that? You know it. I mean, I've been a fan since the first album when nobody was respecting him. Yeah. And but I just wonder, like, you know, a gesture like that. The other side of the question is, would she go to that extreme in her budget?
Right.
Would she put in as much effort? So if she's worth, you know, if she can afford to rent out a restaurant, would she rent out a restaurant?
That is the question. And my thing is, and something we spoke offline, which was off camera, which was, okay, the question is, when you're going into it, when you're going for a date, right? What is the intent? What are we trying to achieve out of this date?
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you're a younger person and you're just trying to go and, you know, smash, whatever, right? There's a different reason why you're doing it in the first place. So I can understand how you look at it getting in, right? Now, if you're trying to go on a date to know someone, right? What is the mind frame that you're getting into that date with? What is the process? Because I could go in there and be like, okay, I just want to wow this girl and show her I can do this, I can do that. I'm a fascinating, interesting guy. But am I at the same time being authentic? Am I being my
Yes, sir.
real self?
Yeah.
Am I going to be able to maintain that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I know women are always on. Also, on that note, which is shots fired to the women sometimes, right? Which is, why in some cases does this seem one-sided, right? Where the idea is, I as a man, I'm gonna impress her. But the other question would be, is she putting the same effort to impress me? Because if I'm really dating you to know you, that's a mutual thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what is her intent getting in? Is her dressing up and looking amazing and that's her focus the most important thing? Or are we putting the same thought process on both sides? Which should influence the date.
I kind of have a problem with her focusing only on the clothing and I focus on the actual experience. Because then what she's saying to me is, it's what I'm seeing, the package, the body.
Right.
Because then I just want to smash. That's my accomplishment. And that's why guys can just smash and pass or just, you know, ghost after something happens. I feel like...
And this is the cool part. Since we're talking about what men think, I don't want women to be coming at us like this and that. We're telling you about
how a guy experiences the date.
Correct.
When you come out and the only thing you put effort into is how you look so that you really look amazing, maybe for him, maybe for whoever's going to be at that establishment that he's going to take you to.
Right.
Because the other side of the coin is, in fact, maybe to elaborate that side of the coin, there's a story that I think I shared with you. You know, you and I, we always talking, man, about my uncle, my crazy uncle.
Yeah.
Crazy rich.
Right.
And he puts his worst foot forward always on his first dates.
Yeah.
Yeah?
You told me, yes. Yes.
He puts his worst foot forward on his first dates always, not because he's a jerk, but he wants the woman to see the worst of him possible on the first date. And if she gets past that,
right?
Because look, I think this is a problem that everyone who's established or famous or rich has. You don't know what's genuine love or what's somebody trying to buy you. And so, to buy into you, you know. So he always puts his worst foot forward. And then when he's done, the second date is always the dream. I know this because I may have been, you know, the matchmaker on one or two dates.
We'll unpack that one day on another episode. Being the one in between.
Exactly, like, the matchmaker.
It's always tricky.
But I know that the one woman that, you know, a relationship really, really worked with was the one woman who sort of looked past that and said, you know what, this guy's fascinating. There's a lot more to him. And she kind of went on to the next date and boom, she was like, this guy is so charming. It's like two different personalities, multiple. And I was like, no. I couldn't tell you because I couldn't sell the game. But, you know, so I don't know, ladies.
It's tricky. I think, and it's almost how we've been trained to look at it, right? Like it's been passed on, right? That, okay, first date, usually the guy, you know, goes out there and puts himself out there. Listen, let's go on a date.
Yeah.
Right? I want to get to know you, blah, blah, blah. Right? Now, and put your comments in, right? Because that's the idea. You can agree or disagree. But when you look at how it's been set up, it's, I'm going out there to, first, I have to ask you out for a date, right? Secondly, I have to plan the date, right? Which is cool. I get it. Like, and that's also the thing we spoke about before, I think, when we're looking at roles and how as a man you should take ownership and leadership, right? I get that. So I take ownership. I invite you on a date. I plan the date. But at the same time, on that date, I'm supposed to impress you, right? Now, that's where I'm saying, I think that's where it gets mixed up. Because for a man who knows who he is and knows what his worth is, right? I'm going there on a quest as well to figure out, like, yo, is this what I want? Is this person able to meet the standard that I've set for myself, right? Now, and I think that's where it gets messed up, where it's like, on the other side of the table, the intent is impress me, you know, in a way. And I think, and not to speak for all women, but I think that's where I look at the Drake scenario, or generally where as men sometimes as well we get it twisted, where we're willing to go full force, but there's no expectations.
That's it.
I'm happy that one, she likes me because I've flaunted, you know, through the red carpet, the whole nine. But I'm not intentional in asking questions like, do I even know her? Do I like what I know? Okay, she looks amazing. Great. But behind that, who is the person?
Actually, man, you've just nailed it.
Yeah.
Why then should the guys get angry at a girl if she feels that she must be the queen or the center of your universe and the sun rises up her butt and you must and you must worship her? When you set the tone at the beginning as the guy, you set the tone where everything is about her, and that's not right. It shouldn't be that way.
No,
listen.
Bro. I mean, I always find it for myself. It's very clear when I'm going on a date, right? That as much as I want to be my authentic self, right? I have questions getting in. I'm very intentional to, who is this person?
Ladies, Date with Derek 101.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, who is this person? As much as she has her expectations, right? She's got her expectations of, you know, let me see who this Derek dude is. He talks smack. He's whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's mutual.
Yeah.
So I don't care about, you know, the nice car, the stadium, you know, the restaurant, the whatever. It's more about, let me get into a setting of getting to know this person.
So the interview is two-way. The company is interviewing you, you're interviewing the company.
It's two ways. Because also, just thinking about it at the top of my head, you wonder why sometimes things are very materialistic or why relationships become very materialistic.
But you put it out
because
there
you
first.
set it up like that, right? You took her to the nice restaurant, and not to say there's anything wrong with going to a nice restaurant, but I'm saying you took her to the most expensive restaurant on a first date. Bro, you don't even know this girl.
You know what happens?
What are you doing?
Guys, the only way from the best restaurant is down. It's like simple logic.
My thing is
There's
this.
nothing you're going to do to top the first date. She's just going to think you're a loser henceforth.
Right? My thing is, y'all, let's get to know each other first. Then we can go somewhere dope. Because then at that point, it's not about, that's not part of my presentation of who I am. That's more like, okay, let's go and enjoy what we've already established at this place or doing that. Or this is how my life is set up. You understand? So I'll go to a nice restaurant once in a while, whether with you or not. This is what I do. I'll probably travel out of town. This is my life.
I'll say it like he's heavy restaurants. I mean, what are we talking about? You were talking about we should be going to, what's that hotel?
Four Seasons,
Exactly,
bro.
Four
We're
Seasons.
About, you know what I mean?
It's just a plug, girls. It's a plug, you know.
Bro, like, yeah, and that's what it is. Where it's like, it shouldn't be about that. And like you rightfully said, it's downhill from there. Right? And once you've started that, I've heard it so many times with women where it's like, but you got me used to this. Why are you changing now? Right? Which is a valid question, ladies. Like, if somebody kind of presents this lifestyle and kind of brings you into this kind of lifestyle that he set up, and then overnight they change that. That talks about inconsistency. That talks about being unauthentic because you can't live up to that. And I think that's where as men sometimes we just have to own up and say, this is where I'm at, you know? And a very controversial topic, and you might have a lot to say about this, is do you believe that there's some people that are out of your
league type thing?
I mean,
I say it like it is. Listen, let me say it like it is.
Right? Yeah.
And you're going to hate me for this. As usual, unpopular opinion. Girls, you're never out of the league of any guy. Life is dynamic. The guy who was a loser today is a supreme being tomorrow. It is like that. So I have so many stories of guys who are, in fact, I'm one of those where girls look at funny because I was a, what they call it, not a late bloomer, but I kind of was from a small town, so I kind of had very little cares. I wasn't all about the big restaurant life, but once I moved to the big city, and I got acclimatized, I became a restaurant snob and became that kind of person. And all of a sudden, all these girls, because they'd sort of see my life, this is before social media, but they'd see the life you live and the word just gets around.
But I'll tell you a funny story. I was talking to this girl, right? Early days. We meet, we're talking. And this was like pre-COVID. So this is when I'm traveling. I'm all over.
Come here with the mask. Yeah.
I'm all over the place, right? And you know, with my work, I'm in, out, all over.
All over the world.
All over the world, right? Now, to someone else who's not used to that, right? It's, oh, this is exciting. What? And that's the scary part, I think also sometimes as men, when you've achieved some kind of success in some way, where the challenge is you're asking yourself questions like, is this person in it for this or genuinely for who I am outside of this? But anyway, so I was like, because I'm traveling. She's like, oh, so I can join you on your trips or whatever. I'm like, listen, shorty, it's all right. Because, I mean, obviously, everything's taken care of. You know, if we're out of town, everything's all good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can kind of, you with me. So we're good. Now, the funny part was the flight, right? Where it's like, okay, so I'm excited about this. So when are you sending the ticket? I'm
You're joining me. I'm covering every expense. You want to be here, but
Right.
you want me to also cover how you get here. I didn't invite you. If I'd invited you, yeah.
Right. If I invited you, like,
yeah.
So I'm just like, whoa. So I'm like, listen, no, it's all good. Don't worry about it. Next time, once you got the, you know what I mean, I'm always traveling anyway, so
Yeah.
you can come through next time.
I'll cover all the expenses, but you get here.
You know what I mean? Like, just no pressure. Because usually pressure is on a guy to be like, yo, okay, so all right, cool, I got you. But it's like, no. Where's the same effort from the other side of the table?
Because truth of the story is,
yeah,
the pressure that girls face, let's not front girls. The pressure you face is that, is this guy going to marry me or not? And you're stressing about this all the time. And so you can't front on a potential that's going to marry you and act like, no, he's still got to front to bear the... Taking leadership in a relationship does not mean taking every single expense.
No.
It's not the same.
I feel like, and it's not even about an expense, because it comes down to, listen, I can't buy you the ticket.
Yeah.
That's not the issue. It's the principle behind it of you're here to work with me. I'm not here to work for you.
You've said it perfectly. And a friend of mine once said it also. He said, we need to teach our girls not just about dating, but to be dateable. So our boys to date and our girls to be dateable.
So, because marriage is that, right? And that's what I'm saying, like, it depends what you're in it for. So if we're talking about you're looking for a life partner or you're looking to date, like, seriously, on a serious relationship tip, right? Then that becomes important to say, is this somebody who's going to partner with me and contribute to build together? Or this is an expense. This is
a burden.
and it's okay, ladies. Sometimes, like, if
it's cool. Listen, if I'm cool with that, it's cool. You're cool. Lucky if I'm cool with that.
If I'm cool with that, right? But it also comes with other things when you think about it. How many times, Q, have you heard women say, like, oh, this man is abusing me and
he thinks he owns me.
He owns me.
Listen, if I'm paying for property, I own it. So if it's a monetary transaction, I own you.
Right.
I'm not trying to undermine you, ladies. I'm saying pick your fight.
Right.
Like, pick the hill you want to die on. Do you want to be his property because it's paid for you?
Right.
Or do you want to contribute as well to the establishment of the relationship? Don't act like this is a favor for him to get into a relationship with you.
And that's why it doubles back to what we're talking about the dating aspect. Going on a date, it starts there. Because that's where you show me
who you are.
Who you are. That's where you show me whether I can work with you or you can work with me.
So if your biggest focus is what you look like, that's who you are to me right now.
So that's what I'm getting, because that's what you're showing me. So in my mind is, okay, I got a fine ass, whatever, queen who sits at home. That's what, she wakes up, blah, 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 blah. That's what I'm getting. Right? Now, are you that is the question. Or there's more to you in terms of the person, right? And then, I was having a conversation with a lady, and she asked me the question of, what are the 5 things you would like about me? Right? That was the question, right? Now, this is somebody I'm cool with. Cool. But just generally, the question was, what do you like about me as a person, right? 5 things. So first I'm like, damn, like, really, like, what do you mean? Like, and she was very specific, like, not physical, right? So I'm like, yo, you're trying to say, like, I like you for what you look like? What are you saying? What did you have?
Pressure.
Like, what? Right? So I'm like, fair enough. Like, whatever list I gave her, blah, 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 right? And she's like, oh, well, you never said I'm a smart person in there, right? So I'm like, wait. I said you are You're driven, right? That in itself says something. But the aspect of I'm smart. Now, in the back of my head, I'm like, this is a great person, yes. This is a very focused person, yes, right? But for me to say that specifically.
Oh, snap.
You get what I'm saying?
Damn.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, obviously I didn't say it verbally, but my thing is, I was just saying, in my mind, I was thinking, it just brought that thought of, listen, this person it's not that they're not smart. This person is smart. They're driven. That's what I could come up with.
You're just not mercurially smart to the level that I have to mention it as a thing.
Do you understand? Now, the question is, have you shown me that? You see what I'm saying? So I think that's what I'm saying. This thing goes both ways, ladies, and guys as well. Like, what are you trying to see on the other side of the table? And when you're going on a date, are you setting yourself up to see that? Now, obviously, a date is not, you're not going to know the person in one day, but first impressions count, right? And the first impression that you give me is what I'm going to work with. To say, okay, so this person sits here in my mind. This is the category that they fit in, right? So it's very important, and I think that's where we have to also be careful. Yes, you got money, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, you're beautiful, sexy, whatever, but that's not the point. You know what I mean? So are we setting, if I'm going on a date with you to the stadium, yes, I've shown you I got cash. And just to put it out there, I don't think there's anything wrong with a Drake taking a lady out.
Oh, yeah. To the stadium. Let's clarify that. Yes.
That's in his tax bracket. He can do that. It's nothing.
It's in his league. Like, he's got that kind of money. Yeah.
You understand? So, but it's okay for you it's okay for you as a guy to accept where you are and work with that and say, how do I work with where I'm at? And I'll stretch myself out, but at least show that I've thought about this.
In fact,
yeah,
I love that you're taking it there. There are these two mamas from church when I was growing up, and if you didn't think I was listening, Mrs. Manguiro, I was listening, Mrs. Manungo. I was listening. And they didn't know they said it both to me, but they said something similar. If it's not for sale, don't advertise it. That's both to guys and to girls. To the girls, if the body's not for sale, don't put it up like it's an ad. Yes, look good. We're not saying then look frumpish.
Correct.
At the same time, if it's a guy, don't flaunt your money if it's not up for grabs. Don't flex like you've got money to throw away. If you don't, you're not that kind of money, then don't flex that kind of money.
Right. And I think it's very important that you said that, because this applies to people that are looking for a certain type of person and that are looking for a certain type of engagement and relationship, right? If me, I'm a blesser, that's who I am. You're a slave queen,
What's
that's
his name
who you
again?
Are.
Serge. Serge Kabong.
Yeah.
He's a boss.
Right?
He's a boss.
So if that's what we're doing, that's what we're doing. Let's not even play games. Let's not ask each other, so what do you think about...
And Serge's attitude is just perfect, because he's straight up like, listen, I'm going to put 100K here. You're going down on me.
That's it. Right? Let's not ask questions. Let's not, no pretense. And that's what I'm saying. Even with like dating, don't pretend like you're this blesser dude when you're not.
Yeah.
And then when she asks you for the money, then it bugs you, right? Like, just be your true self, and then you make a decision from there. And I think it's okay, guys, sometimes to say no, right? It's okay to say,
I'm not that guy.
I'm not that guy. Same thing with ladies. It's okay to say, and I think ladies, to be honest, to be fair, do a better job at that. Where if they're not rocking with you, they're not rocking with you, fam.
I think so, but I think on the other side of the coin, I've met a few, I'm talking about during my dating days, where they then undermine you when you come clear, like, listen, I'm not looking for that type of thing. They'd be like, oh, you're just a nobody. Or I've seen it, even other guys experience it, where they're told you're a nobody. And like,
bro,
no, sweetie, you're unemployed. You're looking for a blesser. That's your employment. Your body's your employment. And
there was another statement, yes, along those lines, where they were saying, like, you don't have a job, but you're looking for a man who's in the top 5%.
And you tell him he's a loser when he's got a job that maybe he's in the top 85%. He's a decent dude.
What are we doing? You know what I mean? Something to think about, ladies. Something to think about, gents. Put it in the comments. We want to know what you guys think about that. I think it was just something I thought about. I was like, man, like we need to unpack it because I've seen a lot of guys like go broke. Who was saying that, bro? It was that dude. The dude on Twitter. What's his name, bro? That guy, bro. The guy on Twitter.
Not Shadiah.
I think it was Shadiah.
Shadiah be wilding out, man.
That dude is
Shadiah,
hilarious.
get back to me, man. I sent you a message. The hell?
That dude, right? He's talking about the fact that men get broke trying to, like he was saying, like if men would not focus on women like that, you can think how many men would be successful in their own right. Because that's not the focus.
Yeah.
Right? How much money we spend on going to these expensive places.
Yeah, and trying to impress somebody who's not even as accomplished as you are in life, you know?
Right. So I think yeah, we just have to shift that. Like it's a mutual thing, ladies. It's not to say that relationships are 50-50, but I think there has to be a clear intent of what you're trying to get out of it. And make it clear from that first engagement that this is what I'm looking for. So that was on that, right? And another thing I thought was worth talking about was the looting thing that's been going on. I think we just have to delve into that because that's very, very important. I mean, it's something that we never thought we would see.
Bro.
Right? Now, for some of us, it brought PTSD, you know, because we know.
Oh, yeah.
Once the turbulence is like this.
Once it's like, it feels this feels familiar, man.
Right? So yeah, amidst everything that was going on, I wanted to go through the perspective that this lady I told you about. I mean, so listen, people are multidimensional, right? So remember the lady we spoke about last time, like she's out here dating and all that, right? Like I said, she's a very smart woman and she's a friend of mine, right? So she posted something on her Instagram. She was just like unpacking this thing from almost like philosophical process, right? Like breaking it down in terms of history, how this applies, and what this means in the bigger scheme of things. And she quoted a number of books, and I thought it was very interesting, and I just wanted to share it, you know, how we can also look at it as well. Because it's layered, right? We can look at it at the surface and say, oh, this is something, people are just mad, Zuma should come out, former president should, be released and all of that. But there's layers to it.
Yeah.
It kind of speaks to the climate that we're in.
Yep.
And there's some warning signs of what could come, right? If not properly managed and addressed now, and we get to the root of the problem to address it, right? So there's the aspect of what happened. Okay, the KZN thing happened. Former president got locked up. People wanted him to be released because they thought he was being treated unfairly. And then you have riots coming up. Oh, man,
it was crazy.
In Durban,
yeah, it was ugly.
Gauteng, and, and other places where it wasn't too critical or big, but we were starting to see this thing mushroom across the country, right? First, we thought, people are upset. He should be released. But then we start seeing that, this thing is organized.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just Zuma must be released.
Oh, yeah.
There's some criminal elements to it.
Yeah. There's a criminal element to it. There's some sort of plot also behind it, some kind of anarchist plot to sort of destabilize the current government. And already we've spoken before and we've said, look, we think Zuma deserves a bit of, fairness in the way he's been tried. But I think more than that, on the other side of it, we should be fair as well about, people should, if you've got a plot, if you've got a plan, then, it's treasonous for people to actually be.
It is.
You know
it
what
is.
I mean?
Yeah. Because when you look at it, bro, I was looking at it, I'm like, how do you loot from your own community, right, stores, and not think that, okay, tomorrow I'm going to need to buy bread.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to get fuel.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out, right? And if you look at, the sectors that were being targeted, it was critical points of the supply chain.
Yes. So now you have people queuing, sitting in a queue from 7 a.m. till getting into the supermarket at 3 o'clock. My sister-in-law was in there from 7 a.m. till 3 o'clock. That was insane. I thought, shouldn't have to go through that. And just looking for basics. And all of a sudden, something as simple as a visit to the grocery store becomes a privilege.
Bro, there's no bread in KZN.
Basics.
Fuel.
Basics. Milk. Basics.
Right? Now, if there's no fuel, that means there's no food, generally. Supplies.
Prices.
I mean, we were talking about this today. Like, prices are going up for things. Like, I mean, this is anyone who's in economics or anyone who is in politics, because this is also a political thing. If we're just going to be honest about it, there's political undertones that are clear. Now, you can't tell me, firstly, you can't tell me that you didn't see this coming.
Fact.
Right?
Fact.
From a government standpoint,
intelligence
standpoint, you can't tell me. Because firstly, if you remember, in KZN, before the former president was
incarcerated,
there were very clear statements made publicly to say that if you do this, we are going to do that. So you ask yourself, and we don't know. I mean, we just look at it from the outside like anybody else. But I'm just saying it speaks to what is actually going on.
That's it.
On both sides.
That's it.
From a government standpoint, from the other side of the table as well, to say, what is going on? Are we so caught up with vaccines that we're missing, we're dropping the ball everywhere else? Or is there some clear intent in this to destabilize?
I'm kind of scared because, so the obvious, it's never always as obvious as it seems. And the obvious picture would be to say, oh, okay, well, look, somebody was trying to, just bring a bit of instability because they're not happy about Zuma being incarcerated. Well, I've said the name, I'm sorry. But the other side of the coin is life is never as simple. You never know which side that came from because that instability can easily be a ruse. Can easily be a ruse for somebody to change the order, just simply to decide, okay, we're under martial law.
Right.
What do you do then? Or we don't know what could be happening behind the scenes and a new law is promulgated, but we're too distracted with the destruction. I'll give you an example. Yeah. You know this, Vitamin Q Studios has been closed for most of the week because of what happened. You tell me we destroyed production for so long and we come back and we're meant to catch up and that's okay and you didn't see this coming?
But that's all we're saying, right? To say us as civilians and as people outside, we're just monitoring, analyzing everything like everyone else, can see this.
Thank you.
When we watch the news, when we hear statements like, if this happens, we're going to do this, we see it and we're like, what's the plan? Right? And then now we see these things unravel and there's no plan.
Oof. Yeah, man. That's it. That is it. There's no plan. There's zero plan.
So you ask yourself and say, what is going on? Clearly the ball has been dropped somewhere. Bro, when I was watching the news, and I remember I laughed in the group and I was like, okay, there are rumors that there were some ammunition that was stolen under watch, right, of the police, allegedly, right? And you say, if that's the case,
I mean, how safe are we then?
How safe are we? Because that was also the questions that were being asked on TV by analysts to say, oh, wait, what is going on here? Bushiri leaves a country.
Yeah, that was insane. I mean, Bushiri left and y'all knew that he wanted to leave. He was a flight risk. Right. How did he leave? How?
How does that happen? And then
It speaks to, like, there's a gap between what intelligence knows and what they're willing to do about it, or what they're capable of doing about it.
It asks,
who knows?
It raises those questions.
Yeah.
Pretty much. To say, what? Is it that we don't have capacity? Is it that intelligence is not really intelligence? Is it that there's some clear intent? What is...
Or is it that intelligence is corroborating with whoever's perpetrating these events? They don't mind that they're doing it because they're okay with a certain outcome?
It just raises questions as civilians. We don't know what's going on, but I'm just saying it's concerning from the outside looking in to say, we need to revisit this thing, right? And that's just one aspect of it. The other aspect is this was done by people, ordinary civilians, who were used to do this for whatever intent or purpose, right? What drives people to that point where they can be used as muse to fight for an agenda they don't understand? Because if you're asking anyone on the street, why are you doing this?
They don't know.
They don't know. We've just been told to do it.
Truth be told, you know what? We've got to admit that there's inequality in South Africa. There's lack of access in South Africa.
And that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Right? That we can't negate that there's poverty that's driving this.
Yeah.
Partly. There's education.
Yes.
The lack of it.
So you got to ask yourself, who has built a society who's taken the 27 odd years of independence? I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
South Africa's been as independent as long as Mandela was in prison.
Right.
27 years. 27 years.
Yeah.
And you have this scenario where somebody can take that and the society is still constituted in a way that KZN can happen.
So you look and you say, dude, in a million years, who would have thought that in a country like this, that we deem to be advanced in terms of technology, systems, that we could find ourselves in this situation where it's out of control. We can't control it. We don't know what to do. We're trying this, we're trying that, we're trying this. And we have to bring the army in to address it. Or to
quail it or whatever,
or whatever, right? So it's almost like all other systems have failed, right? Because I mean, your army is your last resort, if you think about it.
Because the army doesn't carry rubber bullets like the police, no riot gear like the police. These are guys who are trained to kill and to take death, so kill or be killed. They're ready to die and ready to kill.
Even the president himself said it. We were not prepared. Right? So it's not a rumor. It's fact.
2 episodes ago, we're talking about it. Before it even happened, you and I were talking about there's a possible outcome here. You're telling me Intel didn't have that?
So I'm just saying it's very concerning. You look at it and you say, okay, we know what happened, right? Which is the first thing. The question is, so what next, right? And like I said, Tiani has some interesting points. I'm just going to read quickly. So she was quoting some books, and she was saying some very insightful things, which I thought would be worth touching on. So this is, I think, a book or it was a speech by James Howard Chancellor, right? Who said that when you create a culture that considers places throwaways, right? That doesn't value its traditional or transitional buildings or businesses, and that doesn't invest in the quality of its social spaces. You invite people to stop caring about the spaces around them, right? Soon, whole communities aren't worth caring about, right? And because they're not worth caring about, they're not worth defending.
Ooh.
So think about the psyche of the person, Alexander Mbisa.
Exactly. That's it. That's the truth. That's it. Kukuletu. You know. Kukuletu. Yes, sure. Cape Town, it didn't come out, but it could have happened.
It was almost there, right? So that was the first thing she said, and then she To address the disengaged, you must empower them. Okay? Firing rubber bullets at them and blasting them with freezing hose water temporarily suppresses them. Right? But how long can the underlying problems remain unaddressed? Right? For how long can you let a neighborhood fall apart before it doesn't seem worth repairing? Right? How much less value can a community have before its residents are fine burning it down?
Pertinent questions, man. Intelligent questions.
That's what I was saying. Like, we're looking at the results of something. We're not looking at the cause of something.
Yeah.
Right? If you notice the neighborhoods that were affected, it's those types of neighborhoods where infrastructure has dropped, quality of living has dropped.
So, in fact, I like how somebody put it, that these people have nothing to lose, and so they don't mind. Because people would question, why would they do this if they want? Why would you burn a hospital? He's never had access to that hospital anyway, because you ask for payment at the door of the hospital before treatment, so he knows it's not a loss to him. If it's nothing to lose to him, don't be surprised if it's something he's willing to destroy. If he can't buy foods at that mall, don't be surprised if he's happy to loot it. People are hungry. I mean, we could easily put up clips of, there's an old lady who was, they made a joke of her saying, these young people were running all over me when the cops were chasing us. But she said, when they asked her, why were you doing this? She said, I know it's not legal, but let me tell you something, I'm hungry, there's nothing in my... So essentially she was asking us that same question between legality and justice.
Right, legality and justice. And you're rightfully saying, Q, like, the question is, if this granny had healthcare, if this granny had electricity, if she had basic food, if she had clothing, if she had good roads, if she had a good transport system, the basics, there would be no one could tell her to go and loot a store and she would do it. There's no way. So there's accountability, I think, that we need to take on both sides to say, so this ball has been dropped for some time. Right, and I think it's important to add that quote that former President Thabo Mbeki made in that presentation. I think we should just take that clip and throw it in there.
Okay.
So you see where the issue is. There is accountability issues, I think, generally across Africa, where our leaders are not accountable for the time that they spend in these offices and what they've been able to achieve in these offices. Because it'll be very clear, Q, from 1994 to now, to see what happened to get us from there to here, if there was accountability, right? It would be the same thing, 1980 in Zim to where Zim is now. It would be very clear to see where was the ball dropped.
So, as usual, I want to bring out the dissenting voice and say leadership is not always just political. So corporate, for example, remember that classic example I talked about, or did I talk about it? But there's, I remember I used to work for a certain corporate, and the one girl, a black girl, was grossing 31,000 because I didn't say names and where. Yeah, I can say how much she was earning 31,000. Yeah, and then white girl who she was doing a similar job to. Yeah. She happened to go for a drink one afternoon. Yeah. And so the way that business was set up, well, the way that corporate was if you were drunk, it was instant dismissal. So she couldn't come into the building. So she asked the black girl to bring her bag with her too. And so, because she had a drink over lunch. And as the black girl was bringing her bag, she dropped it and things spilled out, including a paycheck. And she realized while she was grossing 31,000 rands, this girl was netting 96,000 rands.
And you're doing the same kind of work.
Same job. So that means if you're netting 96, according to our tax structure and the, probably estimated age of this white girl, she must have been grossing 150,000 from versus a girl who's earning 31,000. And the excuse that corporates give us is, you're not supposed to be discussing salaries. And then she negotiated a salary better. Come on, you've got to have a benchmark. You say to us that we need a benchmark in the interview. Yeah. And now you speak of a benchmark and you speak of the lower mark, but someone is earning 31 to 150 is about 5 times. Listen, 5 times as much for the same job. There's something wrong with that picture.
And so, and that's a very valid point. There's a role that these big corporates and business, the private sector,
yes,
has to play. So there was another statement as well, right? That was a very important question, which I think is worth discussing, right? Which is, how should people act when they've become powerless?
When they've become?
When they've become powerless. How should people act when they have become powerless?
Oh, yeah.
Because somebody in Tembisa right now or in Alexandra
feels disempowered.
They're living from day to day. They're not part of the bigger society. They're isolated. They don't have a plan.
Yeah.
Right? So that talks to, disempowerment, right?
I feel like you answered this question a couple episodes ago when you said the people actually have the power. Ultimately, you spoke to that. You said the people have the power.
But those are the undertones of people trying to take back their power.
Yes, that was
in the actions that you're seeing. Because people are saying like, so if you don't care about us, we're not going to care about you.
That's it.
Right? That's part of it. Another statement was, right, what you experience is quite the opposite. So the local car dealerships, this is just referring to how this is similar to the US and so forth, right? To say, so a local car dealership or chain restaurant or drugstore is not my neighborhood store. And this is in the context of the ShopRites, the Checkers, and so forth, right? To say, these are not local stores. This is not my store.
Yeah. Right? It's not my mom and pop, so it's not a store that I'm going to look and say, this is a loss if it goes.
Instead, it is the most visible symbol of your impoverished options and the status that you see every day as you go without.
You're rocking
right?
with the best.
All because you decided to be black.
But did you decide?
That's the question, right? So you loot because you don't care for these local businesses anymore, that they care about you, right? And you can burn them down to exact revenge for not having a fair chance in the richest country in the history of mankind. And this is reference to the US, but it also applies to what's going on here, right?
That's true.
It's not your local store. It's not, in the context of America, it's not your country even, right? It's not your country. Loyalty works both ways, right? And it doesn't work at all for most young black American males. Now, this is also applying to black South
Africans. But this is the saddest part
loyalty,
for me.
What am I being loyal to, right? That these are not our neighborhood stores. Why am I being loyal to them? Because they're not doing anything here apart from us making them rich.
And I think that's the scariest thing about South African society, because a lot of the commercial enterprise is owned by a minority, by the white race. And let's call it like it is. It's owned by whites. Ackerman's is a mass store. That's mainly for black people then, if it's mass.
Right.
That's owned by a white man. Pep is a mass store. It's owned by white people. ShopRite, mass store, white people. Which one is the black-owned mass supermarket?
So apart from, you could look at it and say, apart from giving locals employment, right? Which they do. And that was also the concern of listening. People are going to lose jobs based on this situation. So it's a bit self-destructive, right? But you can say, apart from giving people employment, fair enough, right? What else is being done in the community to empower it?
Yeah.
That's a question that we don't know, right?
And giving jobs empowerment.
That's the thing, right?
Are you empowering someone by just a job? I understand the fact that a salary is going to be spread across families, but remember, again, it's a low salary. It's not if it's an income. It's a basic wage.
Bro, it's sad. That's what's sad when you see the former finance minister's wife saying, "What am I going to do with 3,000?" Right? You could then say, "Listen,
somebody's earning that in a month.
In a month,
and she's saying she can't do anything at all with it. I mean, that's huge.
And what does that say? You see, I don't want to really get into it, but look at that statement alone.
Yeah.
Look at who is saying that. The empowered.
Yeah.
The ones that are in leadership.
It tells you there is an elitism that's here in South Africa.
Right. So that's concerning, right? So another statement was, it's been over 26 years of liberation from apartheid. Where is the economic freedom? Where are the opportunities for broader society, right? Has BEE truly made a difference from one generation to another, right? So the answer is yeah, right? Where it says, if you lived 365 days a year for some 20 or so years, as these young black men are forced to live under, and this is as black people in South Africa are forced to live under constant racial and economic oppression with all the nifty consumer product of, the elite, right? Just out of reach for life, you'd be burning these businesses down as well, right? Not to say we condone it, but I'm saying the mentality is, if this hasn't, like what you said, this hasn't benefited you in any way, it hasn't changed your circumstance, this freedom that you so-called received hasn't impacted you in the way you thought it would, such things will start happening.
And you know what? This is a conversation I had with a certain Greek gentleman who was trying to recruit me into Freemasonry. Stop it, Masons.
Freemason.
Stop it. I'm not going to join your order. Stop it, Jesuits. I'm not going to join that order.
Right.
But stop it, Masons.
Yeah.
And I said to him, listen, we were speaking in 2013.
Yeah.
And I said to him, and we're talking about Julius Malema at that time. And I said, you know what? Juju is, to you right now, is somebody that you're cartooning because the media is white owned. But you're not, at that time, you're still in the ANC. And they were making an utter joke of him. And I said, you don't realize what you're doing is you're going to create a monster of this man because he's going to leave the structures that have control over him. And he's going to establish himself as a man. Then you will have a real problem because then he'll have nothing to lose by speaking. And he thought, well, look, from those, he started asking me about my futurism views. And I said, I don't want to go into that, but that's how he started trying to recruit me into the order. But I said, there's something I said to him. I said, the same situation that the farmers faced in Zimbabwe, where you own these impractically huge tracts of land and you want to protectioneer around them and you want to own, 1,000 hectares, yet somebody's starving. I remember there was a farmer in Zimbabwe, I won't say his name, but he used to supply about 70%. I mean, his wheat output was about 70% of the country's, but he used to make it for export mainly. So it was obviously his pocket getting lined, besides the, marginal tariffs. And I said, the problem with that was these farmers didn't realize that you have an inordinate amount of ownership in a country where there's an inordinate amount of disenfranchisement. What you're going to have to deal with is people who are hungry and don't care. And they'll come for you. So if you were to lose, what would you rather lose? Just 10% of your farm and say we're creating institutions to take care of the needy.
We spoke about this the other day, right?
Yes.
And just to put a disclaimer out there, we're not condoning looting. We're not condoning burning your own neighborhoods. We're
criminal
not condoning,
acts are criminal acts.
Criminal acts are criminal acts. We're not condoning that.
Yeah.
We're looking at the psyche behind some of these actions.
So that we don't blame or lay blame on anyone. We're just saying consider that there might be a need that you're not meeting, that you should be meeting.
Right.
Listen, the society has made you rich by being a merchant because they purchase from you. The least you could do is perhaps set up trusts for education. Access.
Bro, look at Zimbabwe, right? And I like to refer to Zimbabwe because it's something that's familiar to us. If Zimbabweans were not educated, I tell you, the situation could have been worse.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Actually, that's what made them very calm in their protest.
Because some people will come at you and say, oh, you Zimbabweans are lazy, or you Zimbabweans don't fight for your... It's easy to speak from the outside, right?
Yeah.
But you look at it as somebody who experienced it. You look and say, these could have been worse.
They could have been uglier.
There could have been mass murders.
Oh, yeah.
If people were not educated.
Oh, yes.
If level heads did not prevail to say,
yes.
You know
so,
what?
So what you had in Zim was somebody saying, you know what, this is terrible. I hate this. But, for my family's sake, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that...
I'm going to make a plan.
Yeah.
I'm going to process this and say, what is the best outcome for me in this situation?
Exactly. But now you have a society that out of everyone who starts grade 1, only 1% matriculate with a mathematics qualification.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're talking of a society that generally has a limited access to tertiary education and even less access to jobs.
Right.
And you think you're going to reason your way out of their hunger?
Bro, it's sad. So just to move on quickly. So another statement she said was, in reference to people taking action into their own hands and burning their neighborhoods. She's saying, so they are not burning down their own neighborhood. Let's be clear. Right?
Yeah.
They're burning down the palaces of the elite consumer.
Oh yeah.
Right? Shoved in their neighborhood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. To suck away their money and labor while leaving them with nothing. So we put this big store that has all these things. You have access, so you're going to buy. So what you're doing is taking out.
Oh, yeah.
You're not investing back in.
Yes.
And that's what people are seeing.
Yeah. Yep. And you know what? Here's a perfect testament to that.
Yeah.
Those fridges in the field. Remember that picture of the fridges? No one was taking those fridges home.
No.
They just took those out just to be destructive and leave it out there because the whole idea is, and guys, I promise you, it may sound like this is subversive talk. It's not. Just think of the French Revolution. Think of the Bolshevik Revolution. History repeats itself. If we don't see that unequal classes and elitism...
It doesn't work.
Exactly.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
That model has not worked.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you look at, and I hate to use this as a reference, but look at Europe. There's a middle class. Big middle class.
Yep.
You have your elites, yes.
Yep.
But you have a big middle class. And then you still have poverty, yes. But it's very intentional to keep this middle class big.
Yeah.
What does that do? It makes sure that people are busy.
Oh, yeah?
People are working. Not everyone is trying to start a business and be an entrepreneur. Some people are saying, listen, I just want to be comfortable. I want to take care of my family. So you have that. And then you do have your elites. But what have we done in Africa? We have a small middle class
Yep.
that is always shrinking.
Oh, yeah?
And then
shrinking.
we have a big gap here of poverty. And then we have a bit of a gap there of elite.
That's it.
So there's a big gap between the wealthy and the poor, which then results in the issues we're seeing now.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself when I was looking at this whole thing, I was like, the world has the most billionaires now
Than ever before.
than ever before.
But also the most poor.
Has the most poor people than ever before. So when we're celebrating an Elon Musk, when we're celebrating a Mark Zuckerberg, when we're celebrating what in actual fact are we celebrating? Do we need a Mark Zuckerberg? Do we need an Elon Musk? And not to say do we need them from a knowledge standpoint, from being a visionary and of course, but I'm saying do we need that gap?
And if you think about it, every time somebody brings this kind of topic up, you get accused of being a communist. But truth of the matter is, you wouldn't have to be a communist society for you to be able to actually put checks and balances for such behavior. The tax rates for the rich, the way they hide behind their corporate taxes is such an insult. You can't have the same corporate tax for Vitamin Q as you have for Warner Brothers. It doesn't make sense.
And
this
then I'm
is
going to
a
get a text break. I'm going to get a text break here as, like those big organizations. And if anything happens, governments are going to give you guys.
Exactly. They're not going to give me. What happened in 2008? Detroit was saved by the U.S. government. Were small companies saved by the U.S. government? And so that kind
What
of...
does that tap into, Q? Taps into policy. Do we have black men and politicians that are willing to take a firm position to address those inequalities, to address those unfair policies?
Good question. Are you out there? Is there a political leader out there who's willing to take a stand, who is not in the pocket of private sector? Because a lot of them, still get lobbied by really, let's be honest, African leaders, you have no reason to be a fascist society.
No.
We cannot be something that's run by corporates, because truth be told, the corporates are not the ones who are going to fund your election campaign as openly as they would in the West. The US president, I can understand, bending over backwards for Procter & Gamble, because Procter & Gamble, was one of the lobbyists for them. Yeah. I don't understand what your standpoint is, unless you're receiving these funds under the table. In which case, then we have a problem, because you're keeping secrets.
Because if you think about it, bro, this is deeper than just how we like to phrase it, corruption.
Yeah.
It's a way of thinking.
Yeah.
It's what former President Thabo Mbeki was talking about, to say, do we have men that are willing to take accountability and say, listen, and be responsible to say, that is wrong, that is right.
Yeah.
You can't do that as a leader. Like, are we holding each other accountable as African leaders to say, no.
Don't do that. You can't do that.
This is not how you govern. This is not how you lead. We don't have that transparency. If you think about it, there's a big gap between what goes on in those clusters and what we get to know at grassroots level.
And you can only see it in the terminology when they say the corridors of power. And I say, no, you're a public servant. It's not the corridor of power.
We need to know.
Exactly.
We need to question.
Yeah.
We need to influence.
Yeah.
Right?
I then wonder why, because it seems like the blueprint is right across Africa. You're telling me there's no African leader who could take a stand? And the few that do all die, the Muammar Gaddafi's, again, I'm not saying I support his everything, but I'm saying the ones that are the dissenting voices don't seem to last, and the rest of them that are dictatorships or that obfuscate and inveigle and hide facts from their publics, those are the okay ones. No, man, there's got to be.
Listen, we're not coming against working hard, making millions, and being a millionaire and being successful.
Yeah.
That's not the question. The question is, this equation does not add up.
How is one man worth 160 billion and there's still somebody who slept without having some food?
And don't give me the bullshit of, but they donate. They've got this charity. They've got this project they're investing in. No. We need to address the issue of poverty, period.
Yeah.
And to say, how do we, as society, hold each other accountable? To say, yes, the dream is to be successful, but what are you going to do with 100 and something billion?
Think about it.
One person.
Think about it.
What is the goal at that?
You still only put on your pants one leg at a time. You only eat 2 liters of food at any given point in time.
Point. And at the same time, how are we driving the conversation to say, let's build, whatever policy we implement is to build and not just mass.
Exactly. Not self-aggrandizement.
No.
Building. And John Nash's equilibrium theorem is everything. If we work to make the system better, then everybody gets off better, because we actually make it the most, because we've made it as conducive to success as possible.
Bro, I'll just read this last statement here, right, quickly. So, in this way, some of the looting is lashing out against capitalism, like you were talking about, right? The police, right? And other forces that are seen as perpetuating classism, right? Also, like in reference to America, you're talking about racism, to perpetuate that, right? Widespread looting then may perhaps be interpreted as a kind of mass protest against our dominant conceptions of property, right? It is a bid for the redistribution of property, of wealth, right? Now, we're not condoning it. Let's be clear.
Please,
but
once again,
understand the undertones beneath that to say, what is the root problem that is causing this result? Why are people actually acting like? Why could people be used as muse.
Why can they be used easily for a political agenda? Because they're hungry. And I just want to say, then I understand you're protecting your neighborhood, let's say, because you realize this is coming for you, because it's still personal, it's still your home. But I don't understand you going to burn shacks, Indian community in Durban. I really don't. Because are you sure you have enough guns and enough bullets in those guns to stop the blowback of burning an entire shack community? You burnt a shanty community.
Yeah.
How many old ladies do you think lived in those shanty towns?
Bro, it's ridiculous.
You know what I mean? You've got to think about these things, man. We got to think,
and we have to take accountability. And I hate where politics is used, because if you understand what caused this, maybe it was not necessarily that issue that we're discussing now. Maybe it was somebody saying, yes, want to release former president, right? But the fact that people interpreted this as a way to empower themselves tells you there's a bigger problem than what we're actually fighting about. There's a bigger problem than us going to court to lock this one up and this one up for this and that. There's a bigger underlying issue that needs to be addressed.
Yes.
Right? Because look at it. Looking from the outside, it doesn't seem like it clearly is an internal party issue that has been capitalized to push what was going on.
True.
And this writer says, and this is something that I think will just nicely sum it up, where it basically says, the best way to prevent looting is to provide individuals with a living wage.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Provide for their basic needs.
Oh, yeah.
Treat them with human dignity.
Oh, yes.
And facilitate a life that is about thriving. Period.
That's it.
That addresses this issue.
That's
If that's the focus of our governments, if that's the focus of our leaders, we will not find ourselves in this situation. Not at all.
True. Fact. Well, governments, you've heard it.
Well, those that have ears have heard. And this is just shout out to Tiani. She put this on her profile, and I thought it was worth just breaking down.
Yeah. Shout out Tiani.
Yeah, like that. This is the African mind. This is where we should be. To say, okay, this hasn't worked. We've seen it. This is not. I mean, South Africa has so many examples across the continent where this has happened before.
Yeah.
And we can't afford to fall in the same trap to be another failed state. We can't afford it as a continent.
Terrible.
We can't. The African child has to, at some point, come up with solutions. Firstly, and not complain, just complain.
Yeah.
Don't be a spectator. Right? And we spoke about this before. We said it starts with the local ballot. It starts within your community.
True.
Is there accountability? Are we asking questions to the ones in power locally? Are we making the right decisions in terms of who we empower to lead us?
True.
Start there. And then it builds up. And I think that's what we need to start working on as Africans, to say, how do we make those right choices? Let's not be bought by KFCs. Let's not be bought, you know what I'm saying, by, we're going to give you a bag of Millie Meal. What is your life worth?
And also as a leader, man, if you're a politician, don't be bought by, we're going to buy you a yacht out in Monaco. Come on. You're bigger than
How
that.
about build your community so that you don't have to go out of your community to have a good time? How
Thank
about
you.
that?
Good question. Good one.
Everyone is going to Dubai. Everyone is going to China.
Should be having a good time
New
here.
York, whatever. Why don't we build Africa to a point where people want to come to Africa for that experience? And that requires work. That requires hard work. That requires sacrifice.
And selflessness, the one selflessness you proclaim you have, because you speak of doing this for the masses. But if you really did, you wouldn't mind that the actual fruits of your actions would be another generations.
Yeah.
They don't have to be this generation. Cross-generational thinking.
Yeah, we've got some work to do, I think. And this just shows us as a continent and as a country where we are, where we need to get to, right? This was a very serious episode, but I think it's worth discussing about what's going on right now, discussing the issues in our time.
True.
And being, is it being counted, not, what's that statement?
What's it? Accountable, not just counted?
Yeah. That's what we need to be.
Yeah.
Be a voice. We have a platform. We're going to use it to discuss these issues that are affecting our communities. We're not just going to be cracking jokes.
True.
All right. As much as I want to go on a date, I need to go to Four Seasons. If you take away Four Seasons, like...
Damn it. Can we just make sure that we still have Four Seasons?
We need to make sure we still have places to go. Like, you know what I mean?
Expensive taste, man.
Right? So it's like, come on, guys. I think, let's get to work. Basically, let's stop sitting and just spectating. Let's be a voice, and let's not be used.
Yes, please. If these politicians are not going to act right, then let's show them exactly how to act.
Let us not be used. Let's use our brains, our God-given brains. Nobody gave you that. You don't owe anyone anything at that level. Let's use our brains and let's make the right choices. It's been great, guys. We appreciate you joining us. Subscribe to the platform. If you have topics you want us to discuss, feel free to reach out. Follow us on Instagram, Dread Avenue Pod. Follow us on Twitter, D Marshall Shady. That's, you're gonna put it in the title. Also, you can watch the podcast on YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. Which is this platform. You can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well.
Yeah.
So if you're driving to work, if you're taking a flight, if you just need to listen to something that is definitely gonna build you, make you better, please subscribe, and tune in for the next episode. Super. Cheers.